Now, assuming that all of us have already set this ground to the fact that we need to let go of relationships that are hurting our well being, that are sabotaging our vibrance, our brilliance, that are hindering our growth or manipulating our mind. Keeping that aside, knowing that you already know this fact, let us just take it one notch up. And let me ask you this question: do you think that we need to let go of the relationships that are not intentionally hurting you, that are not manipulating you, that are not sabotaging your brilliance? Do we need to let go of such relationships? If you ask me, I would say the answer to that is yes, sometimes. It is yes. And knowing and having the discernment of when to say yes and when to say a no is what that determines your path to be on the path of destiny or being stuck in this funny loop of fate. So, if you allow me, I would love to share why I believe and hold this perspective of having to let go of relationships, even the ones that are not intentionally hurting you or hindering you. Apparently so. And before we get into that, allow me to thank you for subscribing to this energy channel. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence, because I believe that is the best gift one can give the other. So thank you very much. And if this is the first time you're seeing me, the name is NiKi, and I'm here to share my gift as a spiritual consciousness facilitator and help ourselves navigate through this life of amazingness, and move into the path of destiny and freeing ourselves, liberating ourselves from this matrix, this stuck energy of fate. Let's create our heaven on earth. Getting back to the question of, do we need to let go of those relationships that are not attacking us? And before I answer that question, let me share the three kinds of energy exchange, energy dynamics that exist in relationships. The first kind is the symbiotic, the second kind is the parasitic, and the third kind I would call the passenger. So let's talk about the symbiotic energy exchange. In a symbiotic energy exchange, it is a mutual exchange of energy. So there is giving and there is receiving, there is receiving and there is giving, and this is how any harmonious energy, any harmonious relationship exists. The harmonious unraveling of exchange of your gifts. And here both beings are being organically benefited from staying in that relationship. The second kind is parasitic, where one is being benefited whereas the other is not. So the one derives energy from the other, and this is not the most healthy, because one is being drained off and not being refilled from the same space. There is no exchange happening over here. And this usually happens in a victim savior mindset, where one believes they're the victim and the other believes that they are the savior. And usually you see this in a rich and poor mindset, where the poor mindset, and this could be not just in money, in any aspect of life, when one is already believed in the identity of being poor in any dimension of life, that person would want to parasite onto this uh, apparently more fortunate. And if the other person also agrees upon going through this contract of relationship, then they are present in the savior mindset of having to save the other person, the guilt of having abundance in life. So it is one and the same thing. It's a mirror, victim and savior. It's a mirror dynamic. And that is how such toxic relationships exist, because one believes in being the savior and the other believes that they are the victim. And the third kind is the passenger. I believe it's a very cute kind of relationship. So the example of this is barnacles and whale. So barnacles are these small tiny water species, very beautiful. They attach themselves to whales, and they do not derive their energy from the whale. Rather, they just travel with them. Wherever the whale goes, they just attach themselves and they travel with them without harming, without draining the whale of its energy. Instead, they derive their energy from the ocean, from the water. And as the whale swims through these nutrient rich waters, the barnacles harness, they receive their nutrients through this symbiotic travel. So even this dynamic of the passenger, it is also very harmonious. It is also very destined. So now coming back to the middle man here, the middle parasitic dynamic is what I'm talking about. And going back to the question of, do we need to let go of that relationship that is not hurting you? Let me give you an example. Let's say a relationship began with a symbiotic energy exchange long ago, where the exchange was mutual. But then, as years or decades have passed, it has come to a place where it's only one being benefited from that relationship. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in any form, it's one deriving from the other. Why does that happen? One has grown beyond that exchange with an external source. They have learned to self-harness their energy mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in any form. Or they have found their match where the exchange is very minimal, it's very light, it's not this heavy. So the need is not there anymore. So if this relationship still exists, it only means you are giving way of that loop, of that stuck matrix to survive, to be in that loop of fate. Because a parasitic energy cannot take you to your destiny. You might think, theek hai, it's okay, let that just be there. You need to clean up. You need to let go. You need to normalize this realization of, you need to know when something needs to leave, and you need to know when something needs to stay. And let the energy in front of you decide that for you. You don't decide that. So, to conclude here, what I'm meaning to say is, you know it, you always know it, when a relationship has done its deal, has run its path, has made its course clear. It's done. And when you know it, how you know it? Because when you are in that relationship, one is always drained and one is renewed when they are spending time together. But when they are gone, they feel drained again, because they are not self-sustaining. they're not renewing their life force energy. So it's not doing service to either the parasite or on whom the parasite is attaching themselves to. Both the parties are at loss here. So know that saying no is a service for the birth. You don't have to feel guilty to finish something. It is all in love. When you have to even break something, you need to know, you need to, that courage that it takes to hold that truth in reality and take action based on that. That is love. So be courageous, my friends. We need it more than ever right now to be brave, be courageous, and that is what is going to create individual heaven. And it's the individual heaven that can create a collective heaven. I love you. Uh, so the in the description, I'll be attaching a link where you can see whichever services are available. Right now, there's a course that I'm creating and working upon, which is the heart relationship healing blueprint, which talks mostly about healing your heart, healing the relationship. So whatever questions, queries, challenges, doubts you've got, you can just put it in the form there. So while I'm creating the course, it's a cue for me, or I would just make a YouTube video like this and send it out. Stay blessed. I love you.